There's a particular silence that falls over a room when a family secret detonates like a grenade at the dinner table. It's not the absence of sound. No, it's the presence of something far more dangerous. Comprehension. Picture this. Thanksgiving. 20 people packed around a dining table. The air thick with wine and turkey and that peculiar tension that only family gatherings can brew. My sister Rachel stands there, my laptop held high like a trophy. Her face smug, victorious, ready to expose what she thinks will be my shame, my little antique shop dealings, my pathetic side hustle, but the screen tells a different story. Current account balance, $12.4 million. The room freezes. My mother's laugh, that high, nervous sound she makes when reality doesn't match her expectations, dies in her throat. My father's hand, halfway to his mouth with a fork, just stops, suspended. 20 faces, 20 pairs of eyes, all turning toward me. And in that crystallized moment, I realize everything is about to change. But before I tell you what happened next, before I show you how spectacularly my family imploded, you need to understand how we got here. You need to understand what it's like to be invisible. My name is Sarah, though for most of my life you could have called me the other one, and my family would have known exactly who you meant. I wasn't always invisible. There was a time, brief, fleeting, when I was the only child, the only universe in my parents' sky. I remember my father's hands, large, calloused from weekend projects. He'd take me fishing on Lake St. Clair, and we'd sit for hours in comfortable silence. The only sounds, water lapping against the boat hull, the occasional cry of a gull, and the whisper of fishing line cutting through morning mist. My mother would help with homework at the kitchen table. I can still smell it. Coffee brewing, the faint scent of her perfume mixing with pencil shavings and eraser dust. Nothing extraordinary, nothing magical, but it was mine. Then came the night that split my life in two. I was 8 years old, 8 years, 3 months, and 11 days. You remember specific numbers when your world breaks apart. 2 a.m., the kind of darkness that feels alive. I remember waking to voices, frantic, hushed, and my Aunt Kelly's face appearing in my doorway. Her eyes were red. Her hands shook as she told me to pack a bag. "Your mother's in the hospital, sweetheart. The baby's coming early." Something's wrong. Wrong. Such a small word for such a massive understatement. Rachel was born 2 months premature. Tiny. Fragile. A collection of tubes and wires that looked more like a science experiment than my baby sister. The doctors used words I didn't understand. Respiratory distress, complications, high risk, monitoring. But I understood one thing perfectly. Everything had changed. When Rachel finally came home, our house transformed. The smell hit you first. Industrial strength disinfectant. Bleach so strong it burned your nostrils. Hand sanitizer stations appeared in every room like shrines to some germophobic deity. My mother cleaned constantly, obsessively, her hands red and raw from constant washing. And me, I became a threat. The first time I coughed, just once, barely noticeable. My mother's head snapped toward me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not anger, worse, fear. Fear of me. "Pack a bag, Sarah. You're staying at Grandma's for a few days." A few days became a week, then 2 weeks, then a pattern that would define my childhood. Sneeze, Grandma's house, runny nose, Aunt Kelly's spare room, mild fever, gone before I could even say goodbye. You know what the worst part was? At first I thought it was an adventure. Grandma Marie would make chocolate chip cookies from scratch. She'd let me stay up past my bedtime, and we'd watch old movies together on her ancient TV that took 5 minutes to warm up. Aunt Kelly had this incredible collection of Nancy Drew books, the old hardcovers with the cloth bindings and that particular musty smell that only old books have. I thought I was special. Chosen for secret adventures. But kids aren't stupid. Not really. Eventually you start to understand. You're not going on adventures. You're being removed, like a contaminant. A problem to be managed. I learned to read the signs, the slight tightening around my mother's eyes when I walked into a room, the way my father would unconsciously step between me and Rachel, as if my very presence might somehow hurt her. I learned to make myself smaller, quieter, invisible. But here's the thing about being ignored. It teaches you to watch. to study, to notice things that others miss. And I was always watching. By the time I hit 12, I'd figured out the game. Rachel had learned to weaponize her childhood health issues long after the actual danger had passed, a strategic headache before a test, feeling tired when chores needed doing. A convenient stomachache that somehow only appeared when I had something important. I remember my 8th grade science fair. I'd worked for 3 months on a renewable energy project, built a working model of a solar-powered water purification system, stayed up late soldering circuits, calculating efficiency ratios, perfecting my presentation. The night of the fair, I was setting up my display when my phone buzzed. "Sarah, honey, we can't make it. Rachel has a 99.1 degree fever. We need to monitor her. You understand, right?" I won first place. They never asked about it. But 2 weeks later, Rachel's 15-minute flute recital, where she butchered hot cross buns so badly it sounded like the musical equivalent of a car accident. Both parents, both sets of grandparents, flowers, photographs. Celebration dinner at her favourite restaurant. I wasn't invited to dinner. Apparently someone needed to stay home and make sure the house was locked up. Let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. Was my family wrong? Or were they just protecting the child who needed it most? Rachel was sick. That wasn't fake. She did almost die. Those first years were genuinely terrifying. So where's the line? When does protection become favoritism? When does careful attention become toxic enabling? I want you to drop your answer in the comments. No wrong answers here, this is complicated. Were they doing their best in an impossible situation? Or creating a monster by never saying no? Drop a comment, let's talk about it. Because here's where it gets interesting. High school became my laboratory. While Rachel was building her social empire, drama club, JV cheerleading, the whole princess routine, I was constructing something else entirely, an escape route. I approached high school the way a chess player approaches a board. Every class, every activity, every choice, calculated for maximum advantage. You see, when nobody's watching your failures, nobody's watching your successes either, which means you're free to excel without the weight of expectation crushing you. My bedroom became mission control, colour-coded notes, meticulously organised study plans, everything in its place. My desk looked like something from a productivity magazine, the kind of organisation that borders on obsessive. Rachel would peek in sometimes, her face twisted in that particular mix of disdain and confusion she'd perfected. God, Sarah, this is so sad. Do you ever just relax? You look like a serial killer's planning board in here. She wasn't entirely wrong. I was planning something. I was planning my entire future. Debate team taught me to dismantle arguments while maintaining perfect composure. Turns out being invisible gives you a certain advantage. Nobody expects the quiet girl to verbally eviscerate their position. I won states, twice. Neither win made it to the family calendar. Rachel had soccer games those days. C-team games where she warmed the bench and braided friendship bracelets with the other substitutes. But those were circled in red marker on the kitchen calendar. Junior year, everything crystallised. SAT results came back. I stared at the screen for 20 minutes, convinced it was a glitch in the system, a mistake, some cosmic joke. 1600, perfect score. Do you know the statistics? Less than 1% of test takers achieve a perfect SAT. It's not just rare, it's essentially mythical. I burst into the kitchen, heart pounding, ready to finally have something they couldn't ignore. My mother was at the table helping Rachel with English homework. Predictable. Mom, look, I got a perfect SAT score, 1600. Perfect! That's nice, honey. Can you keep it down? Rachel's trying to concentrate. She has a big test tomorrow. Yeah, some of us actually have to study, Miss Perfect. Sweetie, don't stress. You're just a different kind of learner than your sister. I still have that score report. Printed out. Never made it to the refrigerator. You know what did make it to the refrigerator? Rachel's C+ on that English test. Prime position, centre stage. Complete with a "we're so proud of you" magnet shaped like a gold star. That was the moment something hardened inside me. Not anger, not resentment, clarity. I would build a life so extraordinary, so undeniable, that being overlooked would become impossible. The college application process happened entirely in shadow. 15 schools, 15 applications completed in the dead of night, hidden like some teenager's secret diary. Every essay written by 2 a.m. lamplight, every recommendation letter requested during lunch periods when nobody was paying attention. I filled out my own FAFSA, learned financial aid law, navigated bureaucratic systems designed to confuse. My guidance counsellor, Mr. Chen, bless that man, he saw me, really saw me. He'd stay late after school, helping me decode applications, reviewing essays, making calls to admissions offices. Sarah, you're going to have your pick of schools. Any university would be lucky to have you. I didn't believe him, not until the letters started arriving. Harvard, accepted. Full scholarship. Yale, accepted. Full ride plus stipend. Princeton, accepted. MIT, University of Michigan, Stanford, every single one with money. I kept them hidden in a lockbox under my bed, because I knew what would happen if Rachel found them. Suddenly, she'd develop some urgent need to attend the exact same schools, or she'd have a breakdown about being abandoned, or my parents would somehow find a way to make my acceptance about her struggle. The day my full ride to University of Michigan came through, tuition, housing, books, everything, I allowed myself one moment of celebration. I went to my favourite spot, 4th floor of the public library, window seat overlooking the park. The leather was cracked and worn, moulded by decades of readers seeking refuge, and I cried. Not sad tears, relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. Because for the first time in my life, I'd accomplished something that was entirely, undeniably mine. Something they couldn't minimise or assign to Rachel's shadow. The night I told them about Michigan. Picture this. Thursday night. Meatloaf, overcooked, as usual. Green beans from a can. Rachel scrolling through her phone at the table, which somehow was allowed now despite years of no phones at dinner being law. I'd rehearsed this. Practiced in the mirror. Prepared for every possible reaction. So, I got into University of Michigan. Full scholarship. I'm going. Michigan? But that's so far away. How are you planning to pay for that? We can't help, you know. Rachel's cheerleading competitions are very expensive. I said full scholarship. They're paying for everything. Tuition, room, board, books, everything. But what if Rachel needs you? What if Rachel needs you? Not congratulations, not we're so proud. Not even how did you manage this? Just, what if Rachel needs you? Oh my God, does this mean I can have your room? I need way more space for my TikTok setup, that was it. That was the moment I knew. I was leaving that house, and I was never ever looking back. Alright, let's pause here. Because I need your honest opinion on something. Was I wrong to hide my college acceptances? To apply without telling them? Some of you are probably thinking, they're your family. You should have included them. Others might be thinking, hell no, you protected your achievement. Smart move. Here's my question. Does family deserve to be included in your victories, even when they've missed every battle leading up to them? Drop a comment. I'm genuinely curious where you stand on this. And while you're down there, if you're enjoying this story, hit that subscribe button. Because trust me, we're just getting started. Now, let me tell you about the summer before college. The summer I learned what I was really capable of. Carson's Diner, a greasy spoon off Highway 75, where the coffee was always too bitter and the pie was always too sweet. Vinyl booths with duct tape repairs, a jukebox that only played country music from the 80s. This was my kingdom that summer. Double shifts, sometimes triple. I worked the breakfast rush, 5 a.m. start dealing with truckers and early morning construction crews. Then I'd cover lunch. If someone called in sick, I'd stay through dinner. My feet ached constantly. The smell of fryer grease embedded itself into my hair, my clothes, my skin. No amount of showering could completely remove it. But Carol, the owner, she was different. She was maybe 60, with hands that had seen 50 years of hard work and eyes that missed nothing. She'd watch me during slow periods, studying me like I was a puzzle she was trying to solve. Baby girl, you got something most people don't. Yeah? What's that? The ability to smell like hash browns permanently. You got hunger, not for food, for something more. I can always tell. In diners and in life, the ones making the most noise usually got the least to say. But you're quiet, watching, learning. The quiet ones are the dangerous ones. She'd always give me extra tips, make sure I took home leftover pie, her famous cherry pie that people drove from 3 counties over to taste. But more than that, she taught me to read people. See that guy in the corner booth? Wedding ring? But he's texting someone and smiling like a teenager. That's not his wife. Table 4? She orders the diet soda but adds 4 sugars. She's lying to herself. Table 7? Left his wallet on the table face up, wants everyone to see his money. That's insecurity, baby. I learned more about human nature in that diner than in any psychology class, and I saved every penny. By the time August rolled around, I had $3,847 saved. Not much, but it was mine. Every dollar earned by my own hands, my own effort. Nobody could take that from me. Move-in day at University of Michigan. My parents couldn't come, surprise, surprise, because Rachel had a cheerleading competition. Some regional qualifier she'd ultimately placed dead last in, so Aunt Kelly drove me. 6 hours in her ancient Honda Civic, surrounded by everything I owned. 2 suitcases, a box of books, my laptop that was more duct tape than computer at this point. We pulled up to my dorm, South Quad 4th floor, and Kelly helped me carry everything up. My room was maybe 10 by 10, cinder block walls painted institutional beige, 2 twin beds that felt like sleeping on plywood, a desk that wobbled, but the window looked out over the Dieg, the heart of campus, students everywhere, professors, possibilities. Sarah, honey, your grandma wanted you to have this. $500, cash. Later, I found out Grandma Marie had been setting aside $20 from her Social Security check every month for 2 years, living on less so I could have more. That night, after Aunt Kelly left, I sat on that terrible bed in that tiny room and made myself a promise. I would build a life so extraordinary that being overlooked would become impossible, not for revenge, not to prove anything to them, but for that 8-year-old girl who got sent away for sneezing, for the 12-year-old whose perfect score wasn't worth looking at. For every moment I was made to feel like I was too much or not enough, I would become undeniable. College was a blur of instant ramen, all-nighters, and that particular exhaustion that comes from trying to excel at everything simultaneously. I graduated summa cum laude, double major, art history and business. My parents didn't come to graduation. Rachel was transferring colleges again for the 3rd time, and they needed to help her move. But that's not the important part of this story. The important part starts 3 months later, in the basement of a building that smelled like mothballs and old money. Everett and Phillips Auction House, a Detroit institution, the kind of place where old money goes to liquidate assets quietly. Mahogany everything, leather-bound catalogues, employees who spoke in hushed tones like we were in a library or a church. I started in estate sales, the basement division. My job? Catalogue the belongings of wealthy people after they died. Sounds morbid. It was. But it paid $42,000 a year with benefits, which felt like a fortune after 4 years of surviving on $15 a week grocery budgets. Day after day, I'd sort through lives reduced to itemized lists. Lot 247, collection of costume jewellery, approximately 50 pieces, estimated value $200 to $400. Lot 248, china set, service for 12, minor chips. Lot 249, vintage clothing, various sizes, as is condition. It was mind-numbing work until the Kingston estate. Mrs. Eleanor Kingston died at 93, alone in her mansion overlooking the Detroit River. No children, no remaining family, just rooms and rooms and rooms of accumulated possessions. The estate was massive. But the jewellery was what everyone was excited about. Boxes upon boxes upon boxes of it. Catalogue it quickly, Sarah. It's all costume stuff. The real pieces were sold years ago. Don't waste too much time. But I couldn't help myself. You see, those hours at Grandma Marie's, organising her collection, they trained my eye for detail. And something about this particular piece. An Art Deco brooch, platinum base, or maybe white gold, geometric design, a central stone, probably glass, surrounded by smaller stones in a sunburst pattern. Nothing flashy. Actually pretty understated, but the weight was wrong. Costume jewellery is light. That's part of its appeal. This had heft, substance, and the clasp mechanism, too complex, too precise. Costume pieces from the 20s used simple pinbacks. This had a patented safety clasp that I'd only seen in museum pieces. I spent my entire lunch break that day hunched over my desk with a jeweller's loupe, examining every millimetre. Then I stayed late. 3 hours late. used the company's subscription to authentication databases, normally reserved for senior appraisers, and started cross-referencing makers' marks. The mark was tiny, almost microscopic. Hidden on the underside of the clasp where no one would think to look. CARTIER, 1925, Paris, number 7 of 50, Cartier, limited collection, number 7 of only 50 pieces made. This costume brooch that was about to sell for maybe $300, it was the real thing. I spent 2 weeks preparing my case. Remember debate team? This was the ultimate debate. Against myself, against probability, against everyone who would assume the basement girl didn't know what she was talking about. I built a presentation that would make a PhD dissertation look casual. Historical documentation of the collection, comparative analysis of authenticated pieces, chemical composition reports of the stones, magnified photographs of the maker's marks, market analysis of similar pieces sold in the past decade. Harrison's office was on the 3rd floor, mahogany desk, oil paintings, windows overlooking the Detroit River. I'd been in that office exactly once before, when I was hired. Sarah, what is it? I'm in the middle of... Sir, I need 3 minutes of your time. I believe we have a significant authentication error in the Kingston estate. We've already catalogued. Please, just look. I laid it out, every piece of evidence, every cross-reference. I watched his face change as he flipped through the documentation. Skepticism, then curiosity, then realization. Where did you learn to authenticate pieces like this? My grandmother's collection, online gemology courses, every book the library had on Art Deco jewellery. I noticed things. Send this to our head authenticator, if you're right. Sarah, if you're right, this changes everything. The brooch sold for $47,000. The buyer was a private collector from Dubai who'd been searching for pieces from that specific collection for 15 years. My commission check, $2,350. But the money wasn't the important part. The important part was Harrison's face when he called me back into his office. How many other pieces have we miscatalogued over the years? Would you like me to find out? I'm assigning you to authentication full-time. Welcome to the 2nd floor. Okay, I want to pause here and get real with you for a minute, because this is where my family's story intersects with 2 other people's stories. People who reached out to me after my situation went viral. People who understand what it's like to be underestimated. And I want to know, do you have a story like this? Have you ever been dismissed by your family, only to succeed beyond their wildest imagination? Have you ever hidden your success because you knew they'd try to take it from you? Drop a comment, share your story, because I guarantee you're not alone. And while you're down there, seriously hit subscribe. We're about to dive into 2 more stories that will absolutely blow your mind. But first, let me tell you about the moment I realized I wasn't just good at this, I was exceptional. Before we get back to Thanksgiving dinner, and trust me, we will, I want to tell you about Marcus. Marcus reached out to me 3 weeks after my story hit Reddit. His message started with, "I thought I was the only one. You're not, Marcus. None of us are." My brother Jeremy was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was 7. I was 9. From that day forward, our house revolved around his blood sugar levels. Every meal was calculated, every activity monitored, every decision filtered through the question, but what about Jeremy's condition? I learned to be invisible, to need nothing, to achieve quietly. I put myself through community college working night shifts at a warehouse, then transferred to state school, then got my MBA while working full-time, climbed the corporate ladder one brutal rung at a time. By 35, I was VP of operations at a Fortune 500 company. Salary, $340,000 plus bonuses, benefits that covered my entire extended family if I wanted. Jeremy, still living at home, still letting mum manage his diabetes like he was 7 years old. Working part-time at a video game store. I sent money home every month, told them it was from freelance consulting work, $2,000 monthly, paid for Jeremy's medical expenses, paid for mum's car repair, paid for dad's surgery, then dad needed a knee replacement. Out of pocket, $23,000. I paid it, quietly, anonymously through a family fund I'd set up. At dinner, Jeremy took credit, said he'd called in some favours at work. My parents cried with gratitude. I said nothing. Then came the moment everything broke. Jeremy's birthday, big family gathering, He'd just gotten engaged to his girlfriend of 6 months. Mum stood up to make a toast. "We're so proud of both our boys. Jeremy, you've overcome so much and still helped this family with your big heart. And Marcus, well, you work hard at your little IT job. We're sure you'll move up eventually." My little IT job. I was VP of operations at a company they'd heard of. I'd just been profiled in Business Insider. My little IT job paid more than both their salaries combined. And Jeremy's big heart, that was my money, my sacrifice, my success funding his fake generosity. I stood up, pulled out my phone, showed them my company bio page. The room went silent. Then Mum said the words, "Why didn't you tell us?" And I said, "Would you have listened? I don't send money anymore." Jeremy's wedding got cancelled when they realised his generous nature was actually me. Last I heard, he's mad at me for making him look bad. The funny thing, I don't regret my success. I regret wasting years trying to get them to see me. Marcus's story hit me like a freight train. Because here's what nobody tells you about being the overlooked child who succeeds. The success doesn't hurt. The realization that they would have never celebrated you anyway, that's what destroys you. But let me tell you about someone who handled it differently. This is Keisha's story, and honestly, she's my hero. My sister Brittany was the pretty one. That was her identity. Homecoming queen, perfect skin, perfect hair, perfect life. I was the smart one, which in my family was code for, "We have no idea what to do with you." I went into finance, started as an analyst, worked 80-hour weeks for years, learned the market inside and out. By 28, I'd saved $100,000. I took a risk, started day trading options, then expanded into real estate investments, then cryptocurrency before it was mainstream. My portfolio grew and grew and grew. My family thought I worked at a bank branch processing loan applications. Meanwhile, I'd turned that $100,000 into $8 million in 6 years. Brittany, she'd married a dentist. Nice guy. Good life. They struggled with student loans and a mortgage like everyone else. She'd call me for money. Small amounts. 500 here, 1,000 there. Always with a story about unexpected expenses. I always sent it. Called it a loan, even though we both knew she'd never pay it back. Then came the family emergency. Dad had a stroke, needed extended care. Insurance covered some of it, but not enough. The family had a meeting. Brittany, the golden child, broke down crying. "We can't afford this. We're already stretched so thin. I don't know what we're going to do." Mum looked at me. "Keisha, honey, could you maybe ask your bank about a loan for the family?" I could have told them the truth then, could have written a check that wouldn't even dent my account, but I didn't. Instead I said, "I'll see what I can do." Then I paid for Dad's care, anonymously, through a charitable foundation I'd set up the year before, $180,000 in total. The family was baffled. Who would do this? Some secret benefactor? An old friend of Dad's? Brittany took credit for putting out feelers in the community, said her connections came through. I watched her accept gratitude for my generosity, watched her bask in being the family saviour, and you know what? I felt nothing. Not anger, not resentment, just free. Because I realised their opinion of me was never about me. It was about them, their limitations, their narrow view of success. I didn't need them to know. I didn't need validation. I had something better. I had the power to help on my own terms in my own way without their judgment or expectations. Dad got the care he needed. That's what mattered. The rest, the credit, the recognition, the family drama. I left that for Brittany. She needed it more than I did. Keisha never told them. To this day, her family thinks she processes loan applications for $45,000 a year. She's worth $12 million, and she's never been happier. Which brings me back to my story. Back to that Thanksgiving dinner. Back to the moment my secret detonated like a nuclear bomb in the middle of mashed potatoes and family dysfunction. Let's go back. Rachel standing in the dining room. My laptop held high like evidence in a trial. 20 pairs of eyes fixed on a screen showing numbers that didn't make sense to them. $12.4 million. The silence lasted maybe 5 seconds, but those 5 seconds stretched like taffy, each moment crystallized in perfect, horrible clarity. I could see it happening in slow motion. Mum's wine glass, halfway to her lips, freezing mid-air. The Merlot catching light from the chandelier I'd bought them last Christmas, claiming it was a clearance find. Dad's hand on his fork, suspended over the green bean casserole, his mouth slightly open in a perfect O of confusion. Aunt Kelly, bless her, trying to hide a smile behind her napkin. Rachel's face cycling through emotions so fast it was almost comical. Triumph, confusion, shock, realization, fury. This has to be a mistake. Sarah works at that little antique shop. This must be some kind of... It's not a mistake, Mom. I don't work at a little antique shop. I own one of the largest jewellery authentication companies in the Midwest. Have for 7 years. We have offices in Detroit, Chicago and New York. We authenticate pieces worth millions, sometimes tens of millions. I stood up, smoothed down my cashmere sweater, the one Mum had complimented earlier. This sweater? $3,000. Brunello Cucinelli. The reproduction necklace you liked. Authentic Victorian era, valued at $45,000. The car in your driveway you thought was sensible. Limited edition BMW, $89,000. That monthly $7,000 I've been sending you? That was me. Not Aunt Kelly. Not some family fund. Me. Being frugal and eating rice and beans to help you. $7,000 a month? For how long? 4 years. You do the math. Uncle Bob actually choked on his turkey. Aunt Susan dropped her fork with a clatter that sounded like a gunshot in the silence. But it was Mum's face that I'll never forget. The colour rose from her neck like a thermometer, red creeping up until her entire face looked sunburned. She stood so fast her chair toppled backward. You have millions and you let us struggle? And there it was. Not, how did you do this? Not, we're so proud. Not even, why didn't you tell us? Just pure, undiluted rage that I hadn't given them more. Struggle? I've been sending you $84,000 a year. How exactly were you struggling? Your sister has student loans. She deserves... Deserves what? I paid my own way through college, every penny, while you took out loans for Rachel's private schools that she kept dropping out of. How could you lie to us? We're your family. Something inside me snapped. Years of being invisible, years of being dismissed, years of watching them celebrate Rachel's mediocrity while ignoring my excellence. All of it came pouring out. Lie? You want to talk about lies? You shipped me off to Grandma's every time I sneezed because I was a threat to precious Rachel. You missed every graduation, every award, every achievement because Rachel had a soccer game where she warmed the bench. I got a perfect SAT score. Perfect. Do you remember what you said? That's nice, honey, keep it down. Meanwhile, Rachel's C+ got a celebration dinner. That's not fair. Fair? I paid for my own college, built my own business, created my own success, and I still sent you money every month. Money you used while looking at me with pity, thinking I was some charity case eating ramen to help you. And you know what the saddest part is? I would have shared it. If you'd ever treated me like I mattered, I would have helped you. But you're not mad I didn't tell you. You're mad there's less money to take. We raised you? No. Grandma Marie raised me. Aunt Kelly raised me. Carol at the diner raised me. You tolerated me when I wasn't inconvenient. I grabbed my purse, the Hermes Birkin that Mum had called nice replica earlier. This replica? $55,000. Authentic. Waiting list of 3 years. Enjoy the rest of your dinner. The catering company charges $400 per person. Consider it my farewell gift. Sarah, wait. We can talk about this. There's enough for everyone if we... There's nothing to talk about. You've made it very clear what you think I owe you. I paused at the door. One last look at the family I'd tried so hard to be part of. Mum was crying. Dad looked shell-shocked. Rachel was scrolling through her phone, probably already drafting a social media post about her selfish sister. And in that moment, I felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, just a profound sense of freedom. The monthly payment stopped today. Figure it out on your own. I drove home in my sensible $89,000 car, through streets decorated with Thanksgiving lights, past houses full of functional families having normal dinners. My phone started buzzing before I even made it to the highway. By the time I got home, I had 47 missed calls. 203 text messages, 15 voicemails, and Rachel had posted a 2,000-word Facebook essay about her millionaire sister, who watched her beloved family suffer. The texts followed a predictable pattern. Mom at 7:42 p.m. How dare you walk out on family? Mom at 8:15 p.m. We need to talk about this like adults. Mom at 9:03 p.m. Your sister deserves a share of your success. We've already discussed it as a family without the family member in question naturally and decided 2 million would be fair. Mum at 10:30 p.m. I've already called a realtor about houses in better neighbourhoods. Palm Beach has some lovely options. Mum at 11:45 p.m. Why aren't you answering this? Is your mother? Rachel's Facebook post was a masterpiece of manipulation. My heart is broken tonight. I just discovered that my sister, my own flesh and blood, has been secretly hoarding millions while watching our family struggle with medical bills and student loans. All those years I tried to help her career, giving advice about moving up from that little antique shop. She was wealthy the entire time. The betrayal hurts more than I can express. Family is supposed to support each other, not hide their blessings while others suffer. I'm not angry, just deeply, deeply hurt. The comments section exploded. Distant relatives I hadn't seen in years had very strong opinions about my moral character. High school acquaintances who'd never spoken to me suddenly knew exactly what kind of person I was. Even my third cousin's wife's sister, I didn't even know that person existed, felt compelled to weigh in on family obligations. But the real circus started Monday morning. I arrived at my office, my beautiful, modern, successful office, with original artwork and a view of the Detroit River, to find them waiting in reception. All three of them. Mum, Dad, and Rachel. Rachel was clutching her Michael Kors bag like it was actually worth something. Mum had dressed up, her serious meeting outfit. Dad looked uncomfortable, like he'd been dragged there against his will, which, knowing Mum, he probably had been. Miss Sarah, these people say they have an appointment for authentication services? Oh, they were good. I had to give them that. They'd figured out they couldn't just demand money, so they'd gotten creative. Sarah, honey, we've been thinking about what you said. You're right, we should have been more supportive, so we thought we'd come see your business, learn about what you do. Family supporting family, right? 20 people in my waiting room, clients with actual appointments, my reputation built on discretion and professionalism, and here's my family, turning it into a Jerry Springer episode. I made a decision. Conference room, now. My conference room is beautiful. Floor-to-ceiling windows, leather chairs, a table that cost more than a year of community college. They looked around like tourists, taking it all in. The art on the walls, original pieces, not prints. The view. The success that they'd never imagined I was capable of. This is quite a setup, sweetheart. What do you want? We've discussed it as a family, without me, presumably. And we think that a fair division of your assets would include trust funds for everyone. Rachel needs at least 2 million to pay off her loans and get established. Your father and I would like to retire. We're thinking a beach house in Florida, maybe 800,000. And then there's Thanksgiving expenses, Christmas, general family support. Stop. Let me make something very clear. This business, I built it. Every client, every authentication, every dollar, that's my work, my risk, my sleepless nights and 80-hour weeks. But we're family. You owe us. I owe you? I owe you? For what exactly? For shipping me away every time I got sick? For missing every important moment of my life? For the years you made me feel like I was dangerous just for existing? I've been sending you $7,000 a month for 4 years. That's $336,000. Tax-free. While you looked at me with pity and praised Rachel for her generous spirit, which, by the way, was funded entirely by me, we didn't know. You didn't care to know. There's a difference. I pulled out my phone, pulled up my banking app. Right there in front of them, I cancelled the automatic transfer. Done. No more monthly payments. You want money? Get jobs? Figure it out, like I did. You can't. I can, and I am. Now get out of my office before I call security. This isn't over. Everyone's going to know how selfish you are. Go ahead. Tell everyone. Post it on Facebook. Put it on Twitter. I genuinely don't care anymore. I spent my whole life trying to earn love I was never going to get. I'm done. Security will see you out. That was 6 months ago. The harassment continued for a while. New phone numbers. Fake email addresses. They even tried contacting clients through the business website. My lawyer sent a formal cease and desist. That finally shut them up. Rachel's still posting passive-aggressive updates about toxic wealth and family betrayal. Last I checked, she'd started her own jewellery authentication blog. She lasted 3 posts before giving up. Mum and Dad tell everyone who'll listen that they never wanted my money anyway, that they're praying for my salvation, that success without family is meaningless. But you know what? I've never been happier. My company's doing better than ever. Turns out several high-profile clients respected how I handled the situation. Discretion and boundaries matter in my business. I bought a new house, beautiful, secure, with a state-of-the-art office and a vault that would make Fort Knox jealous. Changed my number, set boundaries, started actually living. And Grandma Marie, she's coming to visit next month, going to help me catalogue a new collection we just acquired, a rare set of Edwardian pieces worth 7 figures. She sent me a card last week, just 3 words. So proud. Always. For the first time in my life, I'm not invisible. Not because I'm wealthy, but because I finally stopped trying to be seen by people who are determined not to look. So here's my final question for you, and I want you to really think about this one. Was I wrong? Should I have told them from the beginning? Shared my success the moment I achieved it? Or was protecting my peace, protecting what I'd built, the right choice? Because here's what I've learned. Family doesn't get a free pass to treat you poorly just because you share DNA. Love without respect isn't love. Support with conditions isn't support. And success you have to hide to protect isn't really success at all, it's a prison. Drop a comment. Tell me your story. Have you ever had to choose between family and your own well-being? Hit subscribe if you want more stories like this. Real people, real situations, no sugarcoating. And remember, being overlooked isn't a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their limitations. You're not invisible. You never were. Some people just refuse to see. Oh, and Rachel, that Cartier bracelet you wore in your last Instagram post, the one you captioned, "treating myself to luxury," it's a fake. Just saying.